Okay, so welcome everyone to Healthy for Life. This is week 6. I am glad that you are here. Let me go ahead and get my presentation started. So we're going to talk about what's around you today. And as a nod to the coworker that I had that helped me develop the Healthy for Life program, I have left her name on. So if you know Deb, you can always tell her that I brought her up and said thank you. She was really helpful in developing this program in the first place back when we did it several years ago. So I just wanted to give a little note and call out to her. So today I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. I'll still give you time to think about what how your past week went and all of that information. But before we get there, I wanted you to think about what some examples of positive self-talk might be. And if you think of something that you want to share in the group, please put it in the Q&A, or sorry, the chat, so that we can share that. So positive self-talk can be to other people, but what we're really going to focus on today is positive self-talk for yourself. And positive self-talk examples of that are many of the things that we have talked about already in our previous sessions. So maybe some of those you might think, telling yourself you're doing great. I will get there if I just keep trying. Yep. Those are great. You did the best you could at the time. Now you know better, or you know more. You can make better choices. Yes. I like all of those. Those are really good. Sometimes it's just as simple as saying, you are enough. Today, you are enough. Just that simple. One day at a time. Yep, I like that. Good examples. Thank you. Okay, so switching gears a little bit from that, let that set in the back of your mind a little bit. We're going to come back to that in just a minute. So 1 minute or so, just to think about how you did in the last week. If you've taken your weight, make sure and write that down and draw that onto your weight chart. Anything to report from the last week that you want to share with the group? I always have a little story for you. So I'll share a little story. This last week, I've really noticed that I'm kind of starting to buckle down a little bit and make some changes in my eating from what I was previously doing. I've noticed that if I can stay away from sugar during the day, then I can do pretty good with my calorie goal. So that's something I've been doing a little bit better this week, I feel like. I lost last week and I did not think I would. I find eating the calories helps to lose. Interesting. It was harder to keep up the steps with the rain, so I had to look for ways to stay active inside my home. What did you come up with for the activity inside your home? Teresa, anything you want to share? Since I've been working at home, I have found that it's really helpful for me to take just a little bit of time, and I can just take like 5 minutes and do a quick neaten up that requires me to walk back and forth across the house. So that's something that's worked for me. Carrying things one by one up and down the stairs, vacuuming. Yep. I learned that it's good to let the others that you love know what you're doing so they can support you. For example, I went on a trip with my mother and daughter, and she brought fruit, veggies for a picnic lunch. She said she left the cookies and chips because she listened to what I was doing with my goals. Isn't that wonderful? That's so nice. Yeah, your support system is definitely something to harness. Awesome. Yep. Okay, great. So hopefully we gave you the time you needed to just kind of make a note for your future self about how you went. You know, if there's suggestions like the ones in the group that you want to write down that you found that worked really well, then yeah, those are good things to write down. Okay, so learning what's around you. We talked about positive self-talk a little bit. We touched on that. But I want to float the idea to you about what is willpower. And this picture is so much the epitome of what willpower is, isn't it? Like the cookies are sitting there, and do you have the quote unquote willpower to resist them if that's what you want to do? I'm going to float the idea to you that willpower is simply the way you respond to a cue, and that you have control over it. I'm not saying it doesn't get tired. I'm just saying that you have control over it. You're not a helpless victim in this circumstance, right? So you have the choice as to what to do, not only about whether you're going to take the cookies out of the jar, but also if the jar is going to stay on the counter and if there's cookies in the house at all. So it's important to discover situations that challenge you and troubleshoot them before you get into them. So if you know cookies on the counter is a landmine, that's what I call them, landmine for you, then maybe think about how you can work around that better so that you don't have to exert your willpower all the time in something you have control over. Or maybe you know you're going to a birthday party or special event, or you're going camping or something like that. And you just need to think through the situation before you get into it. And that can really help you. So think of a situation that has been challenging you or that you are anticipating coming up that's going to challenge you. Is there anything that you can think of? Trips. We've had people ask about trips. So pop. Lynette said, I lost my willpower and mindset this week with drinking pop. Right? So she knows now that that is a challenge for her. And she can think through, okay, what happened? What led me to what happened? And is there any way that I can do that better? Now that I know that that's a landmine for me, how can I do that better? That's a great example. Thank you for sharing. Going to the in-laws on Sunday for lasagna and cheesecake. That will be challenging. Absolutely. 4-day trip with family over Mother's Day, party to celebrate retirement, hospital visit. Yeah. A lot of these are the same in that you're going to be someplace outside of your own home, right? Where you have the most control. You have the most control inside your own home as to what goes on there. A common thread I see is, going outside of your own home. And that is definitely a challenging place for a lot of people. Think about how you can handle the situation next time to ensure a healthier outcome for you. And this is where, and I put it in red because it's important, practice makes perfect. So when it says ensure a healthier outcome for you, maybe a better word to say would be that would move you closer to a healthier outcome for you. What's one thing that you could do differently in the situation? What's one thing that you feel like in the lasagna and cheesecake example, what's one thing you feel like you could do to help with that? Maybe it's, I'm going to take a small portion of lasagna and I'm going to fill my plate up with a salad, or I'm going to bring a salad. If the person's not going to offer a salad, I'm going to bring a salad to go with the lasagna so that I know I can still have a full plate, but I don't have to have so many calories like I know a big serving of lasagna would have. Something like that. that time of the month. I agree. I've been leaving items locked in the car that are tempting you when you're home and you're not able to control yourself. Yes, yes. I even put stuff downstairs. Even just having to go downstairs to get something makes a difference in whether or not, because it's not that you can't access those things. It's just that you put them someplace where it's a little more challenging to get through. It just gives you that extra few minutes or seconds to think, is this something I really need, or should I have a glass of water first? Should I try a little yoga? Should I take a walk around the house just to see if I can reset myself? I take healthy dishes so I can have healthy choices. Yep, when you have an event coming up, take healthy dishes so I can have healthy choices. Eat the veggies instead of the lasagna. Yes, exactly. Even bring your own to-go containers to the meal and immediately put half into the to-go container. That way you aren't depriving yourself. You're just limiting the amount for right now. I love that. That's a great idea. That is a great idea. Yeah, I need some for later, right? I need some for breakfast or lunch tomorrow. Wonderful ideas. So improving your quote unquote willpower. Willpower may sometimes better be described as awareness or even want power. Becoming aware of the environment that we live in is key to improving our ability to make good choices. Environmental influences make real differences in how we eat, how much we eat, how active we are, our ability to handle stress, and so much more. And I know we've touched on this kind of as we've gone along in our other presentations. So this is where we're really going to dive into this a little bit more. How do you really start to hone in on those things that challenge you and improve the outcomes over the long run? So what cues influence you? What is it that makes you decide that you need to eat? Is it hunger? Is it what you're thinking about or how you're feeling? It's very common for people to feel bored and to think that they're hungry. Lonely, right? Sitting around by yourself, not doing anything. That's been an issue for a lot of us in the last year. Happy. Are you happy? Like you love to go out and have dinner or go to these special events that we're talking about. You're just enjoying yourself, right? All of those things could help influence you one way or the other. What other people say and do. If you're offered food at a party or a family event, this is where I always think about those office events, or a party when you're at a family party and you're being offered cake, you're being offered those things, and maybe you truly don't even want it, but you feel like you have to take it. Or maybe there's the outside pressure where even if you take the piece of cake, if you're not actively eating it, people are like, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you eating your cake? What's happening? And just to avoid having that uncomfortable conversation, we'll just eat it, right? The sight and smell of food. That's a big one for me. Absolutely a big one for me. Certain activities, watching TV, we've talked about how that can be a trigger, because sometime when you're watching TV, when you're scrolling through social media, any of those kind of screened events where there's advertisements, take note sometime, maybe even jot down every time there's a food cue, every time somebody's eating something, drinking something, there's a commercial for a food or food product or restaurant, take a note, because there is tons of food cues from those sources. Reading magazines, reading books, like even if you're a book reader like I am, where they're talking about the characters in the book going out to eat and what they're eating, that can be a food cue. Maybe it's a habit you've gotten into. When you do certain activities, then you eat, you like to snack at the same time. Asking for emotional eater, commercials, yeah. You guys are picking up what I'm laying down. All right, so I'm going to be mean to you here, and I'm going to prove to you, in case you're wondering at all, if a food cue actually works. So I want you to think about your stomach. Rate your physical hunger from 1 to 10. 1 being you're not hungry at all. You just ate and you're stuffed. 10 being you've literally been starving all day long and you haven't eaten anything since yesterday at lunch. So rate your physical hunger right now. if I was going to rate that, I would say I'm probably at a 6 or 7 at this point, just because I haven't had anything but my breakfast and a little snack before this. So hopefully you've got that rated now. Now, how hungry do you feel? I told you I was going to be mean to you, didn't I? Does it make you feel hungrier to look at all that yummy food? This is what you run into. All that, yeah, all that stuff. Yes. Okay, I'm going to make that go away. Rate your hunger now. Do you feel hungrier? Would you eat that if it was in front of you? Even if you said, I'm below a 5, I'm not hungry at all. Really? Would you have eaten that if that got put in front of you? Or if you saw the picture? Yeah, totally. It is totally 100% a real thing. It is a real thing, and you need to be aware of it. So this information is from a book called Mindless Eating: Why We Eat More Than We Think, by an author called Brian Wansink. So here are some things to think about. Convenience. Food is available everywhere you go, right? Everywhere you go, from your house to your kid's soccer game, to your grocery store, to restaurants, when you're at work, everywhere. It is so convenient in our country to eat food. It is literally everywhere. Advertising. When you see foods advertising, like I just showed you on the picture before, it's generally going to be food that is high in calories, fat, and sugar, right? Because those things we know, we've tasted, it has an actual physiological response that now can be elicited just from the picture. You don't even have to taste the food. It can elicit that response from your body just from the picture. These things are inexpensive, they're cheap in more ways than one. They're inexpensive to buy, and they're also nutrient poor. They don't have really anything to offer you, so they're advertised heavily, because they're also the thing that are going to get you to go to that restaurant, right? They're going to get you to purchase that food because it causes that response and makes you want it. Portion size. Restaurants and stores won't switch to smaller portions because people won't pay more for them. Think about when you've ordered, and this has happened to me before. You're all sitting at a restaurant and you order something that sounds really good, whether it's healthy or not, and the person who's with you orders something, and they bring out your plates, and maybe the person who's with you has this huge giant plate, you know, just all kinds of stuff. They paid the same amount of money, and then they bring out yours, and it's this little tiny thing. I have that example. I just purchased some food for my daughter and I for dinner the other night, and I got ahi tuna with cabbage slaw on the side because it sounded delicious, right? Comes with wasabi sauce and some pickled ginger. Sounded really good. And my daughter got hamburger, and mine was $14 and hers was $10. And then when we got home and we opened it up, she had 3 times the amount of food on her plate. And so you're thinking, oh my gosh, why did I spend so much more on something and she got so much more food than I am? I mean, we're kind of programmed that way, right? Like we feel like it's a better deal if we get more food. And that's why portion sizes aren't going to change, because we don't feel like it's a good deal. And so restaurants and stores want us to buy it. So they're going to give us what we want. Slurping calories. I saw the note on there about soda pop. But it goes beyond just soda pop as far as how many calories you can take in. And now that you've been tracking, you know how many calories can be hidden in these things if you eat them at all. Sodas, smoothies, energy drinks, so many things. Just go to the convenience store and look at there's a whole line, there's a whole wall of refrigerators full of different drink options. And a lot of them have a lot of calories. It's very calorie dense. Excuse me. People who drink 1 or more sodas per day are 27% more likely to be overweight. And this is regular soda and diet soda. Soda accounts for 43% of the increase in calorie consumption in the past 30 years. Just noodle on that for a second. And now they're adding to that. They're adding to that with the smoothies, the energy drinks. They're trying to find any way to get you to buy that, because that is a big return. They don't get nearly as much money out of selling a bottle of juice as they do selling a bottle of pop. The pop inside the bottle is less expensive than the bottle itself, and the bottle is not expensive. So they really want you to buy that food product. And how many calories are you slurping with that? Eating on the side, that is also known as distracted eating. Doing something else while you're eating, driving, watching TV, watching a child's game, working at your desk. There's so many different things that we do instead of sitting down and just eating. How many of you, when you're alone, will bring your dinner, put it in front of you, and take out your phone to look at it while you're eating? Right? I do it. But if you really want to appreciate your food and you want to be aware of what you're eating so that you can feel full and satisfied, it's really important to be mindful. Just put down your phone. Don't watch the TV. Don't read a book. Just eat. It's also kind of a form of meditation when you do it that way, because you're doing one thing. You're giving your brain a break. Okay, so let's look at some other food cues outside the home. Fast food restaurants, bakeries, coffee drive-throughs right on the way to the work. Oh yes, I haven't even brought up coffee drive-throughs. Oh my goodness gracious, talk about slurping your calories, right? And I know you're not all getting a skinny, non-fat, sugar-free vanilla latte, are you? I know I sure don't. So those things, as you drive past them, because our brain is designed to work that way, this leads to that. If you've ever been to any of those restaurants, or if you've ever been to any of those coffee places or the bakeries or whatever it is, your brain knows I go there and I get a little hit, right? So that is a trigger. Just seeing that. High calorie, high fat foods in public areas. If you're at work, if you're at home, if you're even at a grocery store and they're having samples. I know they don't do that a ton right now, but that's going to be coming back pretty soon. That is a trigger. Snack food stash in your desk. Yeah, it's there. It's a food cue to eat, especially if the foods that you're keeping in your desk are things that are landmines for you. Don't do that. Keep foods in your desk that are healthy for you, that you can eat and be satisfied and enjoy, but not things that you're going to eat too much of. Vending machines and or cafeterias in your work area. Just even things that are close to your office, like the RB drive-in. You can smell. Yeah. Do you think it's an accident when you go to the grocery store that you can smell those chickens, that you can smell the fried chicken? Do you think it's an accident that McDonald's is pumping out the smell, or RB drive-in is pumping out the smell of burgers and French fries on the way by? No. It's not an accident. So those are some things to be aware of outside the home. Here are things for you to be aware of inside your home. And again, remember, this is the place that you have the most control, is inside your home. Like we were talking about at the beginning, think about using your support system. If there are food cues at home that are giving you trouble, or foods at home that are giving you trouble, use your support system. If you live with someone else and you have to, you have shared space, so just talk with them about things that maybe you would like to change. Food on the counter or easily accessible. Food in the front of the refrigerator and at eye height, so when you open it, it's right there. The snack cupboard, you open it, it's right there. Pull out the drawer, it's right there. Think about what's there. Food on the table at mealtime, right? If you bring the whole big thing of lasagna out to the table, or if you have to go up to the counter to get another serving. Size of the serving dishes, eating dishes, and utensils. We've talked about this. This really resonated with quite a few of you, and I'm glad about that. Really think about eating out of something smaller. It's like the person said earlier today in the presentation, it doesn't mean you can't go back and have more, right? You absolutely can. But if it's smaller, you're likely to be satisfied with less. Large packages of food. Costco is infamous for this, right? You can get a huge package of goldfish like this big, right? And you think that's such a deal. I'm going to get the whole thing. But then you bring it home and you know what your brain does? Your brain says, oh, well, there's so much in there. I should just eat it. And then I should eat it again because there's so much. As versus having a small package, you're like, I can wait for a little bit because that's all that's there. Food choices that are available. What kind of food do you bring into your home? What do you have? Positive talk and materials. Now here, I want you to think about not only can food cues be negative, but food cues can also be positive, can't they? You can have the fruits, you can have the vegetables right there at eye height. Those can be the things that are out on the counter. You can have Post-its up of healthy things. You can take down pictures of, that trigger you to eat more. It's so popular right now to put like coffee on your wall or eat on your wall or something like that, right? It looks good, like bistro-ish, but that can trigger you to eat. So think about if there's something else and you can tweak these to work for you instead of against you. If seeing something encourages you to eat, what should you have in sight at home and at work? Apples and oranges and bowls on my kitchen table so my kids will eat that instead of junk. Yep, I'll take the blueberries out. I've noticed if I take the berries out, wash them and leave them on the counter, they're gone. The blackberries have been really good lately too. But yeah, exactly. Water. Yes, water is a great thing to leave inside at home and at work. Or if you do iced tea or whatever it is, put that right on the counter so that you can see it and you can have a drink. Great idea. I like that. So if seeing something encourages you to do it, what should you have in view at home or work, read about, or watch on TV? Make sure what you're watching is not food porn. Don't watch the cooking channel, right? Choose something else that's not going to trigger you when you watch it, and don't watch the commercials. Maybe do something else during the commercials. Think about what you're reading about with your books. So how do you talk about food and activity? I've heard this so much, especially with women. I know men probably do it to a lesser extent, but especially with women, I hear that talk. And I think you know what I'm talking about, where we all get together and we say, oh, you guys, I had the best latte. It was so good. It was so bad for me, but it was so good, right? Is that the kind of talk that's coming out of your mouth or that you're participating in? Or are you saying, oh my gosh, I found the best recipe for overnight oats that I can eat in the morning, or I came across the best way to make chicken on the grill. It was so delicious. Or not talking about food at all, or oh my gosh, I have to go to the gym again because I have to do it as part of my diet. Or you can think, I get to go to the gym. I get to see all my friends there. I get to do my favorite activity. I know I feel so good afterwards. So think about how you talk about food and activity and what the people around you are saying. So if you eat on the side, try practicing mindfulness or mindful eating. Turn your attention inward when you eat. Be fully awake and aware of the sensations and taste of food. That is a whole presentation just in and of itself. That last slide right there. There's a whole bunch of strategies you can use, resources that are available to you to be mindful of what you're eating, really taste your food. The number one most important thing you can do is not do anything else, like we just talked about. You don't have to make it complicated. Just don't do anything else. Positive grocery shopping. Okay, so grocery stores can be a big trigger. Lots of food cues in a grocery store, right? So here are some ways that you can make the grocery store work for you, that this can be better for you. Make a list before you go. Okay, we've talked about, and I don't know if any of you tried, you have to tell me if you did. Making a plan for what you're going to eat. So you can do that not just for the day before, but for the week before or the month before, however long you want to go out. Think about how you're going to eat and then write your grocery list so that you know, and make sure that you're not adding extra things to your list, right? Make a list and stick to it. Try not to go to the grocery store hungry, be full and satisfied. So shop the perimeter of the store is true and not true, because there's some really healthy foods that are on the inner aisles of the store. But I think you know what aisles that I'm talking about that should maybe be avoided. Maybe don't even go down those aisles. But like the aisles that have canned food in them, generally they've got some good stuff in there for you. So don't just think about the perimeter of the store, even though that's where the veggies are, that's where the meats are usually. Think about just which aisles are the good aisles to go down. When it says don't shop by coupon, that means if you're walking down the aisle and you see some of your favorite junk food is on special, and you think, oh, that's such a good deal, I should get more and stock up. Maybe right now isn't the best time to do that. Maybe just say that's a good deal, I'm still only going to get one. Some of you may still use coupons. Just make sure that they're for healthy foods and not bringing landmines into your house. And read the labels like we already talked about, and I know a lot of you are already doing and enjoying. Make sure to read the labels when you're making that selection. I have my mom do my Costco shopping. It saves calories and dollars. Yeah, Costco's a master at getting you to add extra things, huh? Yep. There's a reason that those things by the cash register are up there. And it's the same reason as when you're in other grocery stores, they're just bigger, right? Starting in the produce section also helps. I totally agree. Starting in the produce section, I'm going to tell you, it's an interesting experiment when you go to the grocery store, is to pay attention to what your cart looks like. When you're going through the grocery store and when you get to the checkout, look in your cart. And you don't often get told this, but look in your cart, make a judgment. If somebody else was looking in your cart, would they say, that person has really healthy food in their cart? Or would they say, that person's cart is full of junk? I know you've probably done it, because I've done it when you're standing in the grocery line, right? And you look at the person's cart next to you and you're like, holy cow, that's a lot of junk in their cart, right? You can play that same game with yourself. You can take a look and you can be like, what's going in my cart to be brought into my house? So that's a fun thing to do too. Do you shop more often since veggies and fruits go bad so quickly, like twice a week instead of once a week? You know, the grocery shopping depends on where you are located, how often you need to do that. I know people that live in Big Timber and they can really go to Costco like maybe once a month. And then they have a little in-town grocery store that really doesn't have everything. And so they really have to think outside of the box to have enough healthy foods and choosing produce that doesn't go bad so quickly. And then how do you save things like in the freezer, or can you cook it into a meal right away? Or there's lots of different strategies there. Again, that's a whole nother presentation to talk about all those strategies, but there are lots of strategies for preserving those foods, especially the delicate ones. I personally go shopping about once a week, but it depends on what I'm making. And with the produce, some things you should wash them, some things you shouldn't wash them. So if you've got foods that are going bad quickly, maybe just do a quick Google search and say, how do I make this last longer in my refrigerator? What can I do to it? Can I wash it? Put a little vinegar in with my wash water, like with strawberries, to make sure they don't mold right away. There's lots of different strategies, even cooking it, chopping it up and freezing it so it's still fresh, has all the nutrients, but you can eat it later. Lots of ideas there. So hopefully some of that helped. Ever since my husband ended up with diabetes, the veggie aisle is the only place I shop. I do find myself looking at other people's carts and see what they're buying, and unfortunately how they look. I know, yeah. It's hard though. like try not to judge the people based on their carts. Just judge the cart, because you can have very thin people that are extremely unhealthy, just as you can have the opposite happen as well. So yeah, I know it's human nature to do that, but we all need to give the person grace, right? We can judge the cart and maybe just play the game of saying, how could I improve their cart for them if they asked me? That might be a good way to do it. Yeah. Mhm. Don't be too down on yourself with the judgment. Just try and talk yourself when you notice you're doing that. So positive activity cues to help you do your active things that you want to do. Try keeping a pair of walking shoes in view in your office or at your house. Put a note to yourself on the door, walk before lunch. Send yourself an Outlook appointment, set a reminder on your phone, take the stairs, take your walking shoes on trips, take your swimming suit on trips. A lot of these we've already gone through in earlier presentations. So this is probably a review for most of you. But if you have any ideas that you've come up with as we've gone along for either the activity or positive food cues in other places, I would love to see those in the chat box as well. Mm-hmm. Yep. Janice, I like that idea. Maybe just focus on your own cart, i.e. my cart looks healthier or my cart has room for improvement. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's a great idea. Okay, so remember your goals. Anybody have anything to report that makes me remember sleep? Anything have anything to report with sleep this week? I put my workout clothes. Yeah, since we're working from home, I put on my workout clothes when I wake up, and then that makes me want to work out on my first break. Yeah. Tried the magnesium powder. Did you find that to be helpful? Helped a lot. Yay. Oh, yay. I'm so glad. That's great. Focused on getting better sleep and it helped. Mhm. Lavender sleepy time bubble bath and took a bath before bed and it helped a lot. Oh, that's so wonderful. Wonderful. That's great, everyone. So think about your goals. Maybe they included sleep. Maybe they didn't include sleep. Think about your goals for this week. Think about how you're progressing towards them or away from them, or if they need to be changed. Are they working? Are you meeting them? If you need to change your goals or area of focus, then do so. Remember that you don't want to put a goal down because you should, or even because you want to. Because there's a lot of things that we hold as ideals in our head. I want to get 8 hours of sleep. I want to lose 20 pounds. A whole variety of things. Think about things that are achievable for you that you can do. So if you're setting a goal and you're consistently not meeting it, you can troubleshoot it or you can change it or both. So, but it's important to have that in your head. Like we talked about before, have it in your head, write it down, post it up so that you can remember it. Also really like sleep meditations. I love sleep meditations as well. There's some free ones on Simple Habit and Headspace. I'm sure there's other ones besides that. Those are just the two that I've tried. My goal is to not be so hard on myself. I've had a lot of stress. Yes, I love that. I love that. Be real with yourself. Let yourself be enough. Yes, I like it. I like it. Remember that positive self-talk. Here, I can't remember if it's the next presentation we do or the one after that. We're going to go into positive self-talk. So being hard on yourself a lot of times is that negative self-talk. So if you can catch yourself doing that, then you can quote unquote reframe. So to choose to talk to yourself a different way. The easiest and best way to start doing that is say, would I say that to a child? Would I say that to my best friend? And if the answer to that is no, then you should reframe it. You shouldn't be saying that to yourself either. I've actually made my kids apologize to themselves when I hear them verbalize that negative self-talk. I'm so dumb. I can never do it. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about. I make them apologize to themselves out loud because I feel like as they get older, that will be helpful for them in identifying when that negative self-talk happens and hopefully to reframe it. So I'm sorry, Kim. I'm sorry that I talked that way to you, right? Just like you would have them do with somebody else. Same thing for you. Food and fitness log. Please, if you at all can, continue to do your food and fitness log. Continue to keep track of that. You've got a really good basis now. If you've been going for the full 5 weeks up to this point, you've got a really good basis now to go on, but you need a little bit more to really be aware of what you're eating and what's happening. If you want to this week with the food and fitness log, you can even write down if there's environmental cues that you notice that really have an impact on you, and then how you might address those. Fun with food cues. I'm sure you're probably not thinking, not me, but if you are, or if you're like, I don't know that that affects me so much, the key is that we're unaware of how powerful these cues are. Even when you're aware of how powerful the cues are, they'll still get you. Think back to the study that I shared you with the registered dietitians, where they were told that they were being studied on how much they take based on their plate size, and they still took more with the larger plates. So the guy says, it's time to get serious about losing weight. Today I filed a restraining order against the pizza delivery guy. Might be a little extreme, I don't know, but that is definitely one way to get around a food cue that you know is a problem for you, right? If you know you're going to get weak and call the pizza guy, just put out a restraining order against him, right? Hopefully, you know I'm kidding and it's a joke, but kind of goes along with what we're talking about. Here's some positive thinking for you. Self-efficacy, if you remember this, this is knowing that you can do it. This is the knowledge in your heart, in your guts, in your mind that you can do it. So if you're set yourself a goal, you should feel like you can be effective at actually accomplishing that goal. That's that self-efficacy, and that's how you build it. Because when you have success in meeting a goal, then that leads to resiliency, commitment, and choice. But that equation also works the other way. So choice, commitment, and resiliency can also equal success, right? It goes both ways. They're all intertwined with each other. So plan, make your plan, write down your goals, keep track of your food and your fitness in your log so that you can plan to succeed. So I have a challenge for you again. If you would like to do this, and like I said before, don't always do this, but this might be a fun thing for one of you. Identify one food cue that is a problem for you and get rid of it. How is up to you because it depends on what the food cue is. I'm available if you have questions or want to bounce ideas off of me, but that's your challenge if you want an additional one this week. Now, if you're feeling overwhelmed already, you're stressed out, you do not need to do that extra challenge. Just do what your goals are and leave it at that. But if you want to try this, if this is resonating with you, this is a place where you're having troubles, you're having struggles, then maybe take that challenge to find one food cue that's a problem and get rid of it. Of course, do what you've decided to do, meet your goal. You can print out your stuff if you're doing that, record your food and fitness, and bring your information as you choose to our next webinar. And of course, we have to end with Calvin. They're building a snowport. Calvin says, there, fortress is completely indestructible. And then of course, Hobbes is reading the weather and says, sunny and warmer today, high in the upper 30s. And then Calvin says, our snow fort is impenetrable. At the slightest provocation, we'll let loose a merciless barrage of stinging ice. None dare attack us. We rule all. Together, a veritable fist of defiance. We stand immune to any onslaught. We're invincible. And then Hobbs throws a snowball at him. Right? Okay. Can you see where I'm going with this one? Sometimes the biggest threat is internal, isn't it? Yeah. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to join us today. And I really hope you have a great week. We'll see you next Thursday at noon. Bye, everyone.